Did this artwork almost get the original Mario and Sonic at the Olympic Games cancelled? It might just have the Sega had to fix this one little thing that Nintendo took a big issue with. So this fun little anecdote comes to us by way of a new interview Arcade Attack Retro Gaming Network had with a Sega localization producer at that time, being Ryo Hasegawa, who describes an incident in which Nintendo had feedback on some art for the game. I'll let him describe it for himself, so here we go.
There was one small error, and Sonic's foot was in front of Mario's foot. And Nintendo demanded us to change the priority.
What, so Mario had to be slightly ahead? Oh, for goodness sake.
I still remember that. Yeah.
That's so fun. And you did change it, I take it. You couldn't.
Of course. Like, we were like, oh my God, we have to change it. Or, there'll be no deal.
No deal! You hear that? No deal! They, of course, updated the art based on Nintendo's feedback, and I have to say, or feedback, I guess you could say, and I have to say, the final result, actually, it's pretty even. I don't really note any difference between the characters. Like, they seem to be pretty much exactly in parallel. Which of course is kind of absurd on the surface because Sonic should be blowing Mario away in a foot race. But in any case, when it comes to the actual art, maybe not the worst feedback, even if it was also, pretty nitpicky. But when it comes to rights holders, that's not unexpected. In fact, that did remind me of something else I saw recently, being some concept art you may have seen me fly by there, for the original version of the Wreck-It Ralph villain meeting scene, in which you can see Bowser's actually super tiny right there. Look at that, compared to some of the other villains, he looks really small. And Nintendo had feedback that he needed to be bigger. Now, to be fair, Nintendo was not the only one with feedback about the scene from what I've read. But I do have to say in particular, I do agree with Nintendo here. Like, Bowser's like the Koopa King, right? He should not be smaller than a freaking human. Especially because Mario also provides Mario, human proportions, even if he is smaller than Robotnik there, or Eggman. But yeah, I do have to say that's some good feedback there, that they sized Bowser up in the final scene, which if you've seen it, he's, quite intimidating, and I think might be the biggest scene, the biggest character in that scene, or at least one of them. So, yeah, ultimately, I think a good decision here, even if it really didn't matter in the long run. I would love to have seen the original art, in fact. Maybe it wasn't even, maybe it was only something Nintendo would notice. In any case, I thought that was fun. I'll link to the full interview in the description below if you want to check it out for yourself. There's a lot of fun little tidbits in here, so I do recommend checking it out, which I'll again link to in the description below. So that, everyone, thanks for watching, and of course, stay tuned to GameXplain for more random tidbits like this, and everything else Nintendo here too. We'll catch you later. Bye, everyone.